Metal Gear Solid 5 is a very unique game. Even after 7 years, I haven't found any game like it. And after playing through the entire game, I decided to make this 7 years later. Metal Gear Solid 5 takes place in the 80s, specifically in 1984, taking place in the Soviet-Afghan War, which is a very interesting conflict by itself,
What the hell?
and the Angolan Civil War. Metal Gear Solid 5 has a ridiculously complicated story, so I'll just try to summarize it the best I can. The game starts off in Cyprus, where you wake up from a 9-year coma. Unfortunately, you're in the British side of Cyprus, so someone tries to come in and kill you, and the entire building is set on fire, by a man constantly on fire. Can't have shit in Cyprus, I swear. Anyway, some guy named Ishmael helps you escape and runs some man on fire over. And then Snake decides the best course of action is to flee to Afghanistan, where you work with some schmuck named Ocelot and the CIA, but also the Afghani Mujahideen, who in real life became the Taliban. So if you really think about it, Snake was a contributor to the rise of the Taliban ruled Afghanistan. Anyways, after the whole ordeal, you rescue this guy named Miller, who helps you get back to your base and your organization, Diamond Dogs, which you learned was attacked, and it's the whole reason why you're here in the first place. Apparently, all your men died, and now you gotta rebuild your organization and take revenge on who did it. But we don't know who they are. Anyways, then you do some jobs for the Mujahideen. Just your typical work of killing Soviet commanders and destroying Soviet military infrastructure. You know, just a typical Thursday. But in one mission, you're going into a cave to rescue this Mujahideen fighter named Malek, until these weird alien guys show up and try to kill you, which I forgot happened before. But then you learn some of the missions were actually traps set up by the mystery guy. Anyways, after that you kidnap this Soviet sniper named Quiet, who breathes through her skin for some reason, I actually don't know why. Anyways, this caused conflict in Diamond Dogs, but you decide to keep her. After that you go kidnap this guy named Imran, who builds giant robots for the Soviets. This leads you to Angola, where you decide to cause an environmental disaster. Making the mercenary group who owns Max your enemy. Then you try to get some equipment from a truck, but those weird alien guys I mentioned earlier show up again and try to kill you. Can't have shit in Angola, I swear. Anyways, after that whole ordeal, you find out the mystery guy wants to infect everyone with a language virus to commit genocide, and they're forced to listen to music. Find this out after finding the man on fire again, who is extremely easy to fight. Anyways, after this, your entire base is infected with said virus, making you do this extremely tedious task. Then you go to some compound to find this guy who will help you cure the virus. After curing the virus, you find out Emmerich was working with the evil guy to make giant robots, which you saw before. Apparently he controls both the Soviets and the Americans, and the whole Cold War was apparently just a giant sham. Oh no. Anyways, then you kill him in his robot. Though where Metal Gear Solid 5 really shines is the gameplay, which really makes up for the insanely complicated story that I just mentioned. It takes a very different approach to other Metal Gears, allowing you to approach any situation any way you want, which is really fun. For example, in Mission 3, you have to kill a Soviet commander. You can either sneak into the base, or be like me and kill him with a rocket launcher. This game really encourages creativity, and I love it for that. You mostly unlock all the cool things with a research system, which you need money for, and also resources, which you can find in random crates and boxes. This also ties in with the mother base, which you can customize. You have to manage staff and such, which sounds really hard and annoying, but it's not. Even an idiot like me can manage it. Except for when your base is attacked, which happens during one mission, and it barely even happens. Chapter 1 is incredible. Every mission feels insanely well done, and you can really tell they put a lot of care into the game. And there's also even enemy variety.
The Soviet soldier.
They wear helmets if you shoot them too many times in the head, or wear armor if it's in the chest, or they wear night vision if you go out at night a lot. It's a really interesting system that I haven't seen in literally any other game. There's also companions like a dog and horse, who has the amazing ability to shit and derail cars from their path. You can also attract things like vehicles and people, who I'm sure don't freeze up when they reach a high altitude. Though it is extremely tedious to research things, as they take a lot of time, but they are worth it because you can, commit devious acts with them. There's also vehicles, like I mentioned before. There's all different kinds of them, like there's jeeps, APCs, and tanks, and whatever this is. They change gameplay a lot depending on whether you are using them or finding them. Though finding vehicles can be really fun since you got, a lot of tools to use. Oh yeah, there's also one thing I forgot to mention. There's nuclear weapons which you can own, but I don't really know what to do with them. I haven't really tried to do anything with them. I don't know what they do, but you can have one. After the main game is finished, or chapter 1 is done, there isn't really much to do. Chapter 2 is literally just incomplete. It's just filler missions from chapter 1. But there is, however, side missions, which are kind of like filler missions in chapter 1, which are kind of fun, though sometimes they're very repetitive. Which leads on to the biggest problem with Metal Gear Solid 5. There's not really much to do after chapter 1. Sure, there is chapter 2, but it's like pretty boring. There's slightly just there's just chapter 1 missions, but like they're slightly harder. There's, it just gets repetitive playing the older missions, which leads to the fact that the game was unfinished. There are videos of chapter 2, though, on the internet. This leads on to just wondering what could have been if they actually fully completed the game. Maybe it would have been one of the best games ever created.